It's Friday, the 4th of March. Good morning, Europe. Thank you for joining us. Let's bring you up to date with the latest developments on Russia's war in Ukraine.
Only urgent action by Europe can stop the Russian troops.
A powerful appeal from Ukraine's President Zelenskyy as fire breaks out at Europe's largest nuclear power plant. Russia's assault on Ukraine intensifies with civilians increasingly under attack. NATO foreign ministers meet today for crisis talks. 10 million displaced and some 4 million refugees. The UN predicts untold upheaval from the war in Ukraine.
Ukraine has accused Russia of shelling the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, sparking a fire. But according to Ukraine's nuclear regulator, there has been no change to the plant's radiation levels and the fire has been put out. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says this is Europe's wake-up call.
Europe must wake up now. Europe's largest nuclear power plant is on fire. Right now, Russian tanks fire on nuclear units. They are tanks equipped with thermal imagers, so they know where they are shooting. They were preparing for it.
Back in Kyiv, sirens continued to ring out through the night. Meanwhile, a huge column of Russian military vehicles are inching towards the capital. The State Emergency Service of Ukraine says 33 civilians were killed and 18 injured when Russian shells bombarded Chernihiv to the north of the city, including an oil depot. Ukrainian fighters tackled a large blaze after a site caught fire following the assault. The depot was just one of several buildings that were destroyed in the attack. In Kherson, local authorities say Russian forces have taken control of local and regional government buildings, while residents scrambled to stock up on essential supplies. Meanwhile, Russian troops are allegedly trying to cut Ukraine off from the sea, tightening the siege of Mariupol via its key southern ports. As the invasion continues in its second week, the US has reinforced its presence in Poland. And France has deployed troops on Romanian soil. A second round of talks between Russia and Ukraine have begun. The discussions are being held in Belarus, following a first round on Monday, which yielded no breakthrough. Kyiv has insisted that humanitarian corridors should be set up to facilitate the movement of medical supplies and people. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba says he won't accept any ultimatums.
The UN Human Rights Council is voting today on a draft resolution condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine and demanding the withdrawal of its troops. Russia's representative in Geneva accused the EU of having a hidden agenda.
The peace and prosperity of Ukraine are not in your interests. The lives of ordinary Ukrainians are of no interest to you. You don't need a settlement of the situation in Ukraine. The puppet regime of Mr. Zelenskyy is of interest to you only as a means of pressure and is a trump card in your confrontation with Russia.
But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says sanctions alone are not enough. At a press conference yesterday, he called on Western powers to do more.
Now I ask you to close the sky, and if you do not have the strength to close the sky, then give me some planes. Tell me, is that unfair?
Europe and the US have rejected this possibility, saying it would mean boots on the ground, and are instead counting on sanctions to have an effect.
We look at one of the big factors is, of course, the proximity to President Putin. We want him to feel the squeeze. We want the people around him to feel the squeeze.
Russians are also feeling the squeeze of sanctions, and some even started to post on social media how some items are increasing in price. Massive queues formed outside of IKEA stores across Moscow after the Swedish furniture giant said it would be closing all of its stores in the country.
Today, it's a full day for diplomats here in Brussels, as both NATO and the EU are holding two separate meetings of foreign ministers, where the Ukrainian foreign minister will also join. NATO ministers of foreign affairs will meet in person this time, with the presence of Finland and Sweden once more, to discuss further cooperation and better coordination both for the military support in Ukraine and bolstering the alliance's security. The Ukrainian foreign minister said that he wants to raise the issue of Ukraine's air and missile defense, which means asking the NATO and EU partners for both shutting Ukraine's sky, but also providing heavy air defense weapons. Germany already said it will add 2,700 anti-aircraft missiles to its arms shipments to Ukraine. The EU foreign ministers, together with allies, will later discuss the option of adapting further sanctions, but they are also going to rediscuss a ban on Russian ships entering the bloc's ports, as already done by the United Kingdom and Canada. With tighter global energy supplies, cutting off such shipments poses a challenge for Europe. Efi Koutsokosta for Euronews, Brussels.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday he was determined to continue the offensive against Ukraine without compromise. And Russian forces continued to pound strategic cities, even as a second round of peace talks were underway between Kyiv and Moscow. Putin's comments came as he spoke with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron. The Elysée said that after the call, the French president believes the worst is yet to come. Later, Putin addressed the Security Council in Moscow.
Now on Ukrainian territory, our soldiers and officers are fighting for Russia, for peaceful life for Donbass citizens, for denazification and demilitarization of Ukraine, so that any anti-Russia sentiments that were being created for years at our borders by the West wouldn't threaten us, including with nuclear arms, like it was lately.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said on Thursday he wanted to negotiate directly with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, because it was the only way to stop the war. He also promised to make the Russians pay for all the losses caused and all the damage done to his country.
Every house, every street, every city, and we say to Russia, learn the word of reparations and contributions. You will reimburse us for everything you did against our state, against every Ukrainian, in full, and we will not forget everyone who died.
Russian forces were confronted by defiant residents of Mariupol as they entered the city on Thursday. Also on Thursday, President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, reaffirmed her support for Ukraine.
The 3 waves of sanctions we introduced are already having an impact on the Russian economy and therefore Putin's war effort. And we will take additional steps if the situation deteriorates on the ground.